resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, and anything else that is a professional asset reflective of your career history, they should almost universally reflect your record of success. They should not read as a job description. They should not be, a laundry list of things that you have done. No. That doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't distinguish you as a candidate. People don't care what you've done. They care about how well have you done it. That's what we want to get at. That's the really critical piece.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Regan, and today's guest is Emily Kapit, a Tory-nominated, triple-certified master resume writer, LinkedIn profile expert, and one of the top-ranked career resilience strategists in the world. As the founder of Refresh Your Step, Emily has guided thousands of professionals and executives across industries and continents through one of life's toughest transitions, which is the job search. And it's a pleasure for me to have her on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Emily.
Regan, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for coming, Emily. I want to learn more about Refresh Your Step. So it's a company you had since 2008. So it's been like 17 years.
Crazy.
So wanted to learn, like, at the beginning of it, what inspired you to become a coach and then start your own coaching business, which is mostly focused on resume writing too?
Yeah, absolutely. So originally, my original background was in broadcast journalism, and I was working up at NBC and ABC in New York, and recognized very quickly that loved the work, but it was very toxic. And so I decided that I wanted a little bit more of a normal work-life balance and hopefully less of a toxic atmosphere. So I brilliantly, in my early 20s, started working at an investment bank in Manhattan. And I was working in corporate communications as well as did recruiting for the bank, and recognized in those experiences that people were absolutely miserable in their jobs. And I worked with everyone from C-suite executives all the way down to the campus interns that we were recruiting for internships, as well as everybody in between, all sides of the firm, and they were miserable and they didn't know how to get out. And I just saw this so consistently, and I recognized it as well in my journalism days and talking with professionals in other industries in New York. And I just felt like there's a problem. I want to be part of the solution. And so I recognized a real need to provide career advisory at that time more for young professionals and mid-levels, because there was executive coaching already at that time. And there was coaching when you were in school, like if you're in university, but there was nothing for anybody in between. And I just felt like that there was a real opening there, a real gap. And so I ended up going to grad school with the expectation and the goal to open up this company. And the original plan was not to do any sort of like real focus on the resume piece, and at that time the sort of growing LinkedIn piece. But what ended up happening was the firm that I worked for ended up filing for bankruptcy after I left. I had nothing to do with any of it, for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. But they did file for bankruptcy after I left. And all my colleagues then were messaging me saying, "Oh my God, you always help me with my resume. You always help me, back in the day. I really need your help." So I ended up launching my company a bit earlier than expected. And I got to be known very quickly for understanding this interplay between the professional assets, resume at that time, the growing LinkedIn, and how they pair in with your job search strategy, your interview prep, your networking. And so I recognized that I needed to really combine these elements because they are all woven together. They are not siloed. So when I launched the company and as it evolved in the early days, I saw the need to differentiate myself as not just a career advisor, but also understanding how to really craft these high-level polished documents, regardless of industry and sector. And so, these days, what we are known for is actually the pairing of professional assets with the full job transition, job search, every element of that, And we have melded everything together into a particular process that our clients go through, which I'm happy to tell you more about. But that is the history of Refresher Step.
Interesting. And so, yeah, I want to dive into the process as well. But before we go to that, how would you describe the ideal client profile? You did mention that industry doesn't matter. It's like industry agnostic. So the people that work with you, and in this podcast, we have two audiences, is either coaches or the audience of the coaches we've had on the show before. So we might be reaching out to these people through the podcast. So how would you describe your ideal client profile? I know you mentioned, like I said, no industry, but is there a demographic? Do they have some certain common goals?
So it's true. Our work is very industry agnostic. We work with clients every level, every sector. What differentiates people from being like solid clients with us that end up making amazing changes and transitions versus clients who either it's not the right fit or they struggle? It's those clients who are willing to put the work in. Because look, this is what I tell almost every client. We are the expert writers and career advisors, my team and I. This is what we do. You, as the client, are the expert in you. We have to come together. We have to work together. This is collaborative for a reason, because you've got to better understand who you are, what you bring to the table, your success record, what your network looks like, how to delve deeper into your network. We can advise on all of those things, but you got to be able to put the work in. And even for my clients who are high-powered executives who have families as well, the ones who get the most out of it are the ones who say, for 15 minutes a day, for a period of a week or so, I will commit to this process. And they're able to do it. If they can find the time, anybody can find the time, right? But it's those who are really understanding that to get the most out of a transition and a growth, you have to be an active member of it. And so that is what makes it industry agnostic. So we've got clients from, everything from astrophysics to zoology and everything in between. And what really ties it all together are those who are saying, I'm here, I'm ready to put the work in, and I appreciate the team of support around me to do that.
So it's a done with you kind of deal. There's no done for you, and it makes sense. It's always almost the case. There's no way that, yeah.
Well, and the reality is we will craft that resume, we will craft that LinkedIn content, bio content, whatever we're doing once we gather that information. But the clients have to dig in a bit, right? Like they need to know, not just here's my career history, make it look good. No, it's not about that. Ultimately, yes, but it's throughout your career history, no matter where you've worked, what industry, what level you've gotten to, how linear or nonlinear that job trajectory has been, we need to know, and you as the client need to know, what did I do? How did I do? What was the outcome at every job along the way? And even our younger professionals, students, undergrad, college, or grad level, whatever it might be, even they have a record of success. Now, as you go through your career, it's easier to kind of look back and say, oh, I did this at this place and this at that place and whatnot. But it's really understanding that impact piece. And especially for clients who have gone through a difficult phase of their career, they were let go, they had a terrible manager, their department was spun out, and there's all these sort of complexities happening and they're not feeling great about themselves. Their time and devotion to digging in and seeing the impact they've had changes their narrative, that story they tell themselves, which changes the documents, which changes just the trajectory of their job search and how they're representing themselves in conversations, whether it's networking or interviews or what have you. So it's that hard work going into it really makes a huge difference in every step along the way.
And so, yeah, so basically they're working with you, they're collaborating with the team. And once you gather all of this information, then you'll help them out with the resume and also with the LinkedIn profile.
And then I have a fabulous team who are very high level writers, certified as I am. They don't want to run the business as I do, so they just want to work for me. But yeah, we partner with each client, and yeah, we do delve in, we craft those documents, we edit it with the clients. So we do take that piece off of their shoulders ultimately, but we just gather information in the run up to that.
And so to explain it even further, when it comes to your offerings or kind of your program and how you work with clients, apart from the high level information that basically they're collaborating with it, they're giving you information, Are there different types of programs that they go through with you?
So
How would you describe?
yeah. So everybody has what we call the main process. We call it the capitalized process. My last name is Kapit. So the capitalized process works out well there. Every client essentially will go through that process. And what it is it's meant to take a step back and start to look at one's career from a bit of a different lens. You want to understand, okay, here I am, whatever I've done up to this point, looking forward, here are some ideas of roles that are representative of what I want to do. So they do a theoretical job search. So here are roles in theory, what I'd like to pursue. That can change as we go through the process, but we like a starting point. Here is a phase where they are going to establish a little bit more about their network, key people in their network who can provide recommendations and references as needed. And we put that piece in just so it starts to get that network element pulled together and it holds them accountable for it. And then we're also asking for performance reviews, and that kind of information we'll pull from that for the documents themselves. But that establishes their network in a way that they probably hadn't thought about and prepares them to delve deeper into that network, which is work they do often with me. The third part of that capitalized process that is so critical, and I've kind of already hinted at it, is we have them do a success matrix, which helps them to understand, what did I do? How did I do it? What was the outcome? And a lot of times people kind of understand, oh, I need to be able to speak to my successes, but they don't understand the context piece. And one of two things happens. They either provide almost no information on their original resume that they send to us, or they are providing so much detail that the actual impact piece gets lost. So we are helping them to not just establish that track record of success, but to learn how to speak to it in a high level way so that, yes, it makes it into the documents that we're crafting, but it's also preparing them for interviews as they're preparing to move into that job search phase. So going through the capitalized process usually changes up the narrative that they're telling themselves, because all of a sudden they're saying, I forgot that I have this amazing record of accomplishments and measurables. I forgot that I had done all these incredible things. I see myself in a much different light. I originally thought I was going to focus only on marketing going forward, but I see that I have amazing success in project management and have overseen a team of people. Let's make sure my documents reflect that. So we're able to help them hone in more on what their job success has looked like and how to make sure that is reflected in the documents moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they go through the capitalized process and we do career advisory pieces based on that, have those conversations. And then we will craft the documents. Typically, it's going to be resume with either a cover letter or a networking note, whatever it is that they need. LinkedIn content we are crafting for them, sending so they can upload it into their profiles, as well as if they needed a bio or a 30, 60, 90 or portfolio of some kind, just depending on the client in their particular industry.
And as I'm thinking about this, so there's going to be these documents. So we have the resume, which is going to be built out, and then we have the cover letter too, and the LinkedIn profile. Now, when thinking of utilizing them or going through the actual job application process, is that something that they will basically be applying on their own using the documents that you've created
Great
already?
question. Right. So essentially what we send them, and once we finalized it with the resume and cover letter side, those are essentially done, although we will identify in our documents for them and sort of our guidance piece, hey, these documents are done. Here are some key spots where you can very quickly tailor them per role. So, they can tailor the branding information at the top, or we might have a title piece there, make sure that's tailored per a particular role. And some spots throughout the resume, especially like a keyword section, look at that job description, make sure the keywords match. It should take just a few minutes. Same thing with the cover letter. You've kind of got that Mad Libs thing, if you remember that from growing up, where you would fill in a couple of blanks and then it's tailored per role. So we want to establish something that for them, they have a master version that within 5 minutes, they can spin out for different roles, saving it for individual roles, but they have master versions. LinkedIn's a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, you can't change it constantly. If you do, it's red flaggy, right? So you do want to have it crafted specifically for what your overarching job goals are. And for some people, it might be, hey, I'm looking for finance analyst role, but I'd also be really fine to take on an investment banker role. I'm just grabbing a couple ideas. And so we have to craft, well, you can have resumes that are for different roles. LinkedIn has to kind of be more inclusive. So you have to be more strategic in how you craft that content. For the resume and cover letter, essentially master versions, very easily tailorable per opportunities that can then be used going forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so resume, cover letter are kind of like templates, which include everything that they need to, and they can be changed based on the job that they are applying, but it still includes all of their history and the points that they need to add in there. And LinkedIn takes a broader approach
It
to it.
needs to. And the good thing about LinkedIn is that those algorithms that drive the platform are just a bit different. So you typically have more word count and space character count on LinkedIn in which to provide information about your background and what you're well suited for. In that way, you are naturally going to be able to be more inclusive and strategic in what you put there. Whereas on the resume, you're typically a bit more limited. So we have that working to our advantage on LinkedIn, and that allows us to just be thoughtful about what we include in one versus the other. But they should work in tandem. And the thing that I always want people to hear is, regardless of the professional asset we're talking about, and certainly as a combination of them, resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, and anything else that is a professional asset reflective of your career history, they should almost universally reflect your record of success. They should not read as a job description. They should not be, a laundry list of things that you have done. No. That doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't distinguish you as a candidate. People don't care what you've done. They care about how well have you done it. That's what we want to get at. That's the really critical piece. And that's the point of the capitalized process too, to establish the record of success so that when we're going in and crafting those documents, the impact piece is just nailing people over the head right away. That's what you want people to see about you.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Emily. And I wanted to ask you, when it comes to people finding you or you finding them marketing wise, and this is a question that most other coaches are going to find useful, is what marketing channel works really well for you right now?
I will be honest that I will do very little marketing. Personally, I mean, I've been around for a long time now. So usually, and I have specific relationships that people like recruiters, headhunters, other coaches who don't do the documents piece the way that we do. They are referral sources. We have, thousands of happy clients who send their spouses and their kids and their neighbors and their colleagues. I just in the last 24 hours, I've gotten like 3 of those. So our network works for us, and our referral sources are almost primarily people who have either worked with us as clients themselves, or we are professional colleagues. However, I obviously do use social media to some extent. I think there's real power in that. So to answer your question, the staples are going to be the main ones for us, right? You're still going to find us on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. And the reason that we utilize those is because it's for us, my marketing on those platforms is going to be taking the emails that we get daily from happy clients and capturing it in some sort of marketing, piece via Canva, putting it up on those, putting it up in those particular platforms and then linking back to us, right? And so it's whether or not someone needs us that day, if they see it and they see that consistent praise for our work, then it sits in the back of their mind as oh, when the time comes, or if I hear from someone who needs the work that Emily and her team do, she's the one to go to. I know that there are other social media platforms out there. I do love how other people use them as I do scroll and see what people are doing. And as far as other coaches, I think there's real power in it. For us, it's just been a little bit of a different strategy just because kind of where we are in our company's history.
So it's been mostly organic in a way.
Yeah, and I'm proud of that. Look, ultimately that must mean that, hey, knock wood, we're doing something right, because that's how we built our business.
Absolutely. And where do you see it, your business headed in the future for the next 1 to 3 years? Do you have any specific business goals you're working towards?
So the biggest business goal is I've had a book and workbook in production for a while, and it just requires my time, energy, and effort to finalize. And I might have had several people say, "Oh, just hand it off to someone." I'm like, "No, that's my thing. That's my baby." The reality is I have a very busy business queue, plus 2 of my actual human children that require my time, energy, and attention as well. So, finalizing the book and workbook so that there is the capitalized process in a different format for people to harness and utilize, That's a big business goal for me. Also being very thoughtful about where the industry is heading, right? So I've had countless people ask me in the last, 12 to 18 months, Emily, are you worried about AI taking over the resume space for you? And the reality is I do have to keep an eye on it. And I recognize that there's concern about this. The other thing that I really see is that clients email me. I just got one of these yesterday, actually. A longtime client emailed me and said, I need to come back to you because I tried uploading my resume into one of these like resume AI things and it was terrible. And he sent me what he had gotten back. And it was terrible. It was awful.
Mm-hmm.
And it had mistakes all over the place. The formatting was ridiculous. So while as much as I have to keep an eye on these things, I also recognize that there is some job security for me because that's not necessarily taking over yet. That being said, I do realize that the industry is still transitioning and changing, and I need to be on top of that in terms of providing a different level of service to ensure that people really understand, hey, working one-on-one with a person or a team is in your best interest, because human to human is where you're going to make the most connection. So I see that as a growing continued trend. People miss that human connection. They feel like they've lost it, especially in the last few years since COVID. So recognizing that that's an area to be on top of for the next 1 to 3 years and beyond.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel the same way. When it comes to human interaction, that is something that AI won't be able to replace. Also, you have access to the market. Like, you're already working with clients, so you kind of see what's working and what's not working. AI doesn't have real-time data. It's just like getting the information out of articles and things that are being published, but nothing that is behind.
There's absolute use for. I use it on a daily basis. I will have client. I did it the earlier today. I had a client call this morning with someone in the Middle East, and immediately after, I recorded my notes from that call, and I used AI to organize those notes for internal project management system. And I mean, there's value in that. It's a huge time saver. But to actually like connect one-on-one with people and to craft, especially these documents that are so deeply personal and so strategic, it doesn't compete. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. So it's helpful for a lot of the tasks that we do day to day, and it's kind of like an assistant, I would say, more than a threat at this point. Yeah.
100%. I'm keeping an eye on that. And I feel like as long as coaches recognize, use it to your advantage, don't use it to the point where you're no longer in the game, where you're no longer connecting one-on-one with people. You just removed yourself altogether and you've gone irrelevant. So be thoughtful about how you're approaching use of AI.
Cool. And so I also wanted to ask you about investments. So this goes to our research. We're trying to find out what are some good investments and bad investments that coaches have made. And in your case, with your coaching business throughout 17 years, what would you say have been some good investments that you either learned a lot or got a good return from? And what have been some investments you would have preferred to have avoided? Now, you don't have to go 17 years in the past. You just think about recent.
I would say one of the best investments that I made early on was in figuring out how to differentiate myself almost immediately. And you actually mentioned this earlier in the podcast. When I first started out, I recognized that I needed to be known uniquely for something. And so I became known as one of the career resilience experts. The other thing I got to be known for, I'm a triple certified master resume writer. And so I don't do as much of the resume writing anymore because I run the business, because I do the coaching. But at a time I did write all the documents, and I was the youngest triple certified master resume writer in the world at one point for the age in which I achieved that. And that was a huge success. The investment of time and money into doing the certifications and just all of that was huge, because then I was the top in the world, the youngest in the world at something so specific but so needed. And that was huge. And I remember reaching that milestone and just being like so grateful for having done that process, even though it was like, a time suck and, all of the things that it is when you're doing that. So that was huge for me. I think the other investment piece that I always want to mention to people, and this might sound sort of cheesy, it's that investment of time in, for me to not be working, that time for me to be away from my computer, away from clients, away from everything, and just to be. Because when you are constantly working 24/7 and you're constantly on and you're constantly growing the business and you're constantly doing things, you lose focus, you lose objectivity, you lose the ability to really like come through in a very real way to your clients. You lose that genuine aspect that is so inherently important for coaching itself, right? So constantly making sure that I invest in time for me, whether it's, making sure I'm obviously with my kids every single day when they're home from school and being part of their afternoon and evenings and weekends and all of that, but also making sure that I am, mentally, physically, and emotionally taking care of myself, because then I can show up in a more realistic and genuine way for my clients. So always investing in that time. I'm not a robot. I'm a real person. I got real things going on, and making sure that's real. Things that I wish I had not done. I wish I had learned earlier in this particular venture over 17 years. I wish I had learned to pay attention to the red flags of clients who were coming to me, because sometimes those red flags are really apparent and you're like, ooh, this is not going to be a good fit. But you want to work with everyone. You want to help everyone. They were a referral from someone, maybe multiple someones. And when you don't pay attention to those red flags, you end up dealing with some very heavy people. Heavy in the sense that they like drag you down. They make it really difficult for you to show up for your other clients or do anything else, because they weren't ready to do the hard work. They are standing in their own ways, their own worst enemy. They are their own obstacles, but they project onto you. And I've seen it, and it happens. It does happen. And so what I recommend to people is watch those red flags, listen to that intuition in your gut that says, oof, this is not the right client. And you can always set them free and say, I think that you are a wonderful professional. You have so much to offer. I'm not the right fit for you, but here are some wonderful people that I think could be a good fit. Now, if you have other coaches that you refer to, you might want to run it by them first, just to, say, there's this one major red flag for me, but I'm giving you a heads up. A lot of times those other coaches will say, yeah, I can do it. And you make those referrals. Pay attention to those red flags, because the last thing you want are the pain in the butt clients, because they just make it very difficult for a period of time. You don't need that.
Yeah, being the wrong fit, they can drain your energy too. Like I said, it can affect the other clients as well, in how you show up for the other clients, because this is not the right fit. And knowing when to say no is very important too. I guess you learned over time who to say no to and who to say yes to, because at the beginning, yes to everyone.
The reality is I'm not always perfect with it, even today, because there are clients who will come through and be wonderful in the beginning and not have any red flags, and all of a sudden something snaps and you're like, ooh, where did that come from? So it doesn't, even this many years in, there's still moments where it's like, oh goodness. But yes, and to establish boundaries and to make sure clients recognize they can't just randomly call you at 2:00 on a Tuesday and expect you to pick up, which happens, right? So having those boundaries in place and making sure that people genuinely understand you are not always on call for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. So basically, it has happened to you that they called you.
I had a client call me yesterday. Yesterday was Monday. Yeah, he called me yesterday at like 1:00 and was just like, he immediately sent a text right after saying, I just called you. I had a question for you. And I was like, you can't just randomly reach me. Like, if you have a question, send me an email, send me a text. I will respond, but you can't just call and expect, and then to send the immediate text, and then to send the immediate. So, this is a client that he's lovely, but I will put boundaries on him. And today I will speak to him at 2:00 today. It's a couple hours, but I have said to him, I got 15 minutes. Sure. What's on your mind? And he will be cut off. He will be cut off after 15 minutes. And it's not because I don't care. It's because I have other priorities too. And and the other thing is, 15 minutes of my time I got. You want an hour of my time? I have a rate for that. I will send you an invoice. Then you can book me. So making sure that very nicely that is stated.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's so interesting that you mentioned that, because like we don't give that time even to some of our family members often. So like, why would we answer the phone for you?
I know, right? Like,
so,
I screen my calls, and I'm sorry. Like, if you are not related to me, you are probably not going to have me pick up in the middle of the day. Sorry.
Yeah.
It is, but
So I wanted to ask you also about like, and thinking in the future of like growing your coaching business right now, what would you say are some challenges that you're going through with your business? Where would you say the bottleneck is with you right now?
I mean, for me, it really is having, the time to finish the book and workbook. It requires a solid couple of weeks of me just focusing on it. But with the client queue, that's tough to do. So I was speaking over the weekend to my husband about it, and I was just like, I got to find a solution to this because that is such a professional goal for me. So that's a big one because I want to be able to have that as a passive income source in order to launch other passive income sources. So that for me is the biggest thing.
Is the book written? Is the book
Yeah, it is
written yet?
largely written. It is. I need to make some adjustments to it. I need, time to make sure it's formatted the way that I want. And I'm a writer. I was originally a writer. That was my journalism, right? So, I'm very, very specific in how I want this to be and then how to offer it and make sure it's, it's available on Amazon and Kindle, but also a print version and this and that. So it's a matter of having a few weeks to devote to it where it would be the sole thing that I am doing. So trying to figure out how to make that happen in conjunction with running the business and doing everything else that I do. So
Do you have like a published date where you're thinking of launching it, or?
I mean, I would like to say the end of the year, but we shall see.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just thinking like for people who watch this podcast later
I
on,
love it.
is that date, is it past the date or not?
I know, right? I don't want to put that out there, but chapters are available on the website. You can download a free chapter, so feel free to do that. And the whole point of it is to have established strategies for career resilience, and obviously working in the capitalized process as well, and learning how to understand the documents themselves and how they interplay with the rest of the job search, and why it's so important to learn how to evolve your career and grow your understanding of who you are and what you bring to the table so that you're not just staying in one place. Right. And so it's really understanding those critical elements. But yeah, there is a free sample chapter on the website, refresherstep.com. So feel free to check it out.
Cool. We'll put that in the description for people to find it easily. And my final question to you is more on like for other coaches. I know coaches don't like to give advice to people. In general, it's mostly like help you find the answer, but not show you the answer. So it's like this is for coaches to directed to other coaches that are thinking about scaling their impact. And in a way, like with your book, you are going to be able to reach out to more people, even though you're not going to be working with them directly because the book is scalable. So is there any advice you'd like to give to other coaches who want to scale their impact?
Yes. I know when you talk about scaling your impact, it brings to mind like you're expanding, right? And that's true. But to really make sure that you are not just one in a million coaches, like you are not just in a sea of other coaches, you have to differentiate yourself, right? So find the thing that differentiates you, harness that, focus on that, capitalize on that. So then you can scale. Because if you're just the run of the mill career coach or whatnot, that doesn't really stand out to everybody else. It's what is your focus area? What differentiates you? Are you focused on a particular sector? Is there a particular niche that is important to you? What is it about you that you're passionate about, that you bring to the table, that distinguishes you, so that you can hone in on that, harness that power, and scale your business accordingly? Because when you're known for something specific, then you are memorable. That's what you're looking for. So you want to scale, I get it, but you're going to do a much better job of it if you are known for something specific in your coaching, something that's memorable, something that differentiates you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emily. And I totally agree with that. It's actually even easier to market for once you are able to speak to a certain group of people instead of appealing to everyone, which is not possible. So yeah, thank you so much. And for everyone who wants to connect with you, we'll put the website in the description, just like I mentioned. So it's going to be refreshyourstep.com will be in the description. They can also go into LinkedIn and look up Emily Kapit, and they'll be able to find your profile there as well. Is there any other way you mentioned also social media.
I mean, they can always find me on like, the mainstays, the Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm not on Twitter for no other reason than I just didn't need another platform to check and deal with on a daily basis. So, I mean, sorry, X. Sorry. I realize now it's called X these days, but still stuck in the past. But yeah, those three are the mainstays. Easily to find me there. Obviously, people can reach me via the website or social media. I will respond. Happy to answer any questions. Happy to talk to people and see what their needs are and how we can be supportive.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Emily.
Pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.